Some lives, they live in parallel. On the surface, everything looks still. But behind the eyes, a universe spins, a secret theater where the soul rehearses escapes and wanders for hours, hours the clock never records. Chapter 1. The Private Cinema. The body is here, but the mind is somewhere else. Sitting at a desk, walking a familiar street, lying in a silent room. And yet, behind the eyes, a portal opens. This is not a distraction. This is migration. Total migration. The outside world begins to soften. Sounds lose meaning. Shapes blur. But inside, focus becomes sharp, almost crystalline. A story unfolds with a director's precision. Characters with history, dialogues layered with subtext, landscapes painted in raw detail. The heart begins to respond. It races during a fictional chase. It tightens during a scripted confession. Breath changes. Emotion feels real, because to the brain, it is real. Time no longer obeys the clock. Minutes dissolve into hours, measured not by seconds, but by the arc of the story. For the obsessive daydreamer, this is not an absence of reality. It is a presence in a parallel one. A world where everything connects, where emotions make sense, where cause and effect are clear, and most importantly, where you hold the pen. The chair you sit on? Just a prop. The real action, the real setting, is happening behind the curtain of your own forehead. Chapter 2. The Architecture of Escape. It rarely begins as a choice. More often, it begins as a necessity. A child's world can be loud, unpredictable, emotionally empty. And when safety is missing, when connection is absent, when peace does not exist, the mind adapts. It builds a door. That door leads inward. Inside this new sanctuary, the child becomes two things at once: the protected and the protector. They create companions who listen, scenarios where they are powerful, worlds where beauty doesn't disappear. This is not a weakness. This is intelligence, a brilliant adaptation. A psychic retreat, built from loneliness, from boredom, from unmet needs. This inner world is not the enemy of reality. It is its negotiator. And then, something important happens. A pathway forms. Each escape deepens it. Each visit reinforces it. What was once a refuge becomes a reflex. Stress flickers, boredom appears, overwhelm knocks, and the mind responds instantly. Blueprints slide out, walls rise, not to keep reality out, but to keep the self intact. It becomes a fortress, built for survival, even long after the original siege has ended. Chapter 3. The Neurological Waltz. Inside the brain, a quiet symphony begins. Not suddenly, not violently, slowly. The default mode network lights up, not in brief sparks, but in a steady, luminous hum. This is the brain's stage when the outside world fades. The mind is not idle here, it is building worlds. At the same time, something chemical happens, silently. As a story tightens, as a desired scenario takes shape, the brain releases dopamine, subtle waves, the chemical of anticipation, of reward. And the mind learns something dangerous. It learns how to create meaning on its own. The present moment begins to dim, its boredom, its pain, its demands, gently eclipsed. The prefrontal cortex, the part that keeps you anchored in the now, loosens its grip. This is not a breakdown, it is a repurposing. The same machinery meant for planning, for social understanding, for creativity, is reassigned, turned inward. The brain adapts, as it always does. It learns how to waltz alone. It abandons the chaotic music of the outside world and chooses a composition it can fully control. One note after another, predictable, safe. Chapter 4. the captive author. Eventually, a realization arrives, quiet, unavoidable. You are both the architect and the prisoner. The daydreams that once felt like refuge revealed their other face, a gilded cage perfectly designed by you. You move through real life like a ghost. Your body performs routines, your hands work, your feet walk, but your vital self is elsewhere, busy, tending to fictional lives. This is the core of loneliness, not isolation, but devotion. To be so deeply involved with phantoms that real human connection feels distant, even disruptive. The inner world is rich, but it echoes. You speak and hear only yourself. And then comes the guilt. Not loud, not dramatic, quiet, gnawing. The guilt of time, the only currency that cannot be refunded. Time spent in a country that does not exist. You watch your own life from behind glass, a curator in a private museum. The most vibrant exhibits are not real, they are projections. The conflict is not between good and bad, it is between two compelling realities. The inner narrative pulls like a current, strong, relentless. Resisting it feels like abandoning part of yourself, but surrendering to it feels like forfeiting your only tangible life. And so the truth settles in. You are captive to the very stories you once wrote to set yourself free. Chapter 5. The Threshold of Presence. The shift rarely arrives like a thunderclap. It comes like dawn, slow, almost unnoticed. Maybe it's the feel of a ceramic cup, warm, solid, for a moment more vivid than the phantom sword you were just holding. Or maybe it's laughter, real laughter, from another room, and for the first time, it sounds more interesting than the scripted wit your inner characters. This is the moment of recognition, quiet, unannounced. The inner world doesn't collapse, it simply loses its absolute rule. You begin to notice the cost, not as a tragedy, but as specifics. The sunlight you never felt on your skin, the conversation you were only half in, the life that moved forward while you remained suspended in possibility. Something fragile flickers. Curiosity. What if this reality, imperfect, uncontrollable, real, holds a texture you forgot to feel? This is the beginning of a gentle pull, persistent. Not a desire to destroy the inner cinema, but to occasionally step outside its dark hall, to feel open air on your face, uncertain, alive. The threshold isn't crossed by slamming a door, it's crossed by noticing something simpler. There is a window, and it has been open all along. The turning point is not a declaration, it's a question, quiet, honest. What happens if I meet the world just as it is? Chapter 6. Translating the language. Integration is not an exorcism, it's a translation. It begins with compassion, a simple inquiry. What is this inner world for? Comfort? Mastery? Connection? Meaning? The mind is not asked to stop creating, it is asked to redirect, occasionally, to let its artistry take new forms. The bridge is built through the smallest things, concrete things, the weight of a stone in your hand, the delicate vein on a leaf, the complicated emotion on a friend's face, not as facts, but as stories. The narrative mind is invited to marvel again. A walk becomes a study of light and shadow. A conversation becomes an act of deep listening, curious about a story that isn't yours. The inner cinema does not go dark, it evolves. It becomes a studio, a place where imagination is sometimes redirected, drafting possibilities for the life you actually inhabit. Energy once spent only on fantasy finds a new destination. A single brushstroke, real, physical, placed carefully on the canvas of your days. This is not a dramatic return, it's a quiet one, a repatriation of the soul. You learn to breathe the air of both worlds, no longer fleeing one for the other, but allowing each to deepen the other. The mind is endless, its secrets never fully revealed. If you want to walk deeper into the darkness, hit subscribe and don't forget to ring the bell.